Do I need to present him? All the way from Scandinavia. Thank you very much for joining us again in Paris, Mr. Crispin Parelius Johannessen. Crispin is fine art photographer and an equine photographer, not like the others.
I've changed this presentation around quite a bit. It centers around the publication of some photographs in a newspaper in Scandinavia in March, in the newspaper Aftonbladet. And there's just been so many things happening with them all the time. And then I've been thinking about things that I would normally talk about, and then I changed my mind. But I think I've been really lucky today that the talks before me have actually covered a lot of things that I would maybe like to include, but it isn't really up to me to include. So, but I think so that has been really wonderful. I would first start to talk about that. As you can see, I changed my title to The Secret instead of The Devil. I'd like to start by saying that I am actually, as Eva said, educated as a fine artist and a photographer. And I see myself much more, I see myself as an equine photographer or artist and not an equestrian photographer artist. And I don't see myself as a sports horse photographer. But of course, I'm working, taking photographs of sport horses, and Aftonbladet is actually also a sports magazine. So I would like to draw the attention to that. You do have different kind of, there are different production processes and conventions we adhere to. So the equine artist, you could say, I really love saying that, you could say trace it back to over 30,000 years ago. And I think this is a really important point, because this thing of looking at horses is really not a new thing. And it's not a new thing either to make representations of them. However, what is quite new, I suppose, in relation to what we're going to talk about today is horse sports, or at least. So, there are going to be turning up certain tongues. This was actually is a painting. I believe it's about is it 600 or 700 years old. So the fact that we are artists actually looking at details and in particular tongues is either not such a new occupation to think of. I'm going to take you back a little bit in time, and that was. I don't know, but I would like to take you back to my student days in the 90s. I studied at Central St. Martin's in London and Goldsmith College. Because even then, it's what, 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, I was taking details of horses. And I have actually been photographing horses, and it's been a very important part of my life since I was 8, I think. So there's a long process. This was a video still of a horse's eye that just was looped, so it would just keep going, and you could see it blinking. This is, as you can see, the belly of a horse, and you can see there's a human standing there on the right side, and it was projected onto a large screen of glass, and you could just see it move, breathe, as the horse breathed, it would just contract, exhale. It was very good. And you could walk behind it, so it became a different object. And this is done for this was actually my exam work in 96. So you could say, the technology since then has hugely increased. This is really sort of digital photography or digital. So, I mean, it was just in the sort of breaking point when so what I think was incredible is that we wouldn't normally look at details like that, and certainly not make them so huge. And the fact that it is projected, I think it's 3 by 2 meters, and the actual area of the horse is tiny. You could walk behind it like that, so you entered from behind. So it was like a big sheet, a big screen that was breathing. I also photographed details of my riding boots in my college days. And these were also projected. They were very big. That total collage was maybe something like 2 by 3 meters. I took this, you can see the spur there as well, because I was interested that it represented one of these surfaces of communication with the horse. A very, very small area, but it's still a surface communicating with the horse. I also took large lifelike photographs, and I placed them back in the stables of the horses where they lived. So they actually, the photographs got urine and shit damaged, and they tore them up. I have also photographed hooves since then. And what I was looking at then, and what I was writing about, because there was a lot about animal representation then in relation to animal rights and welfare. But as you can see, this is Donatello, and it's his image beneath him. And this has always been very, very, something that has interested me, the real breathing horse and the representation of the horse, and how we see, how that influences and conditions how we see. Another thing that really interests me when you were talking details and cave drawings from over 30,000 years ago, I think when they were eating horses pre-riding, they probably, I don't know how they cooked them or dissected them, but in order to eat them, you would have to chop them up. And I find this kind of interesting, that they probably knew quite a lot about horse anatomy then, which we have kind of lost a little bit. What we do now is pay a fortune to go on dissection courses or boil hoofs at homes. So I see all of this as a sort of practice of, how we see, how we produce equine representation. So this is still kind of a bit before I started first going back to warm-up, because I have ridden, I do ride, do have horses, but the first sort of warm-up work I actually did in '97, and I showed it in London. And I remember it so well because I filmed it. And I just thought, with quite a nice camera, which I had from my college, and then I just could film the details like I hadn't done before. And I was just like, oh my God. So I just showed it. So then we get to the project I would like to see. So I see myself as an artist, and I work with projects, and I kind of decide what I would like to do. One of the things that has been very difficult is, we think in viewing spaces. So we find viewing spaces, whether it be social media, or it was an art gallery or museum or a street or whatever. Artists have a lot of ways. There are loads of viewing spaces you could have. What I think is quite special with this project was that it's been quite difficult to get what I call big media interested in this. And it's been quite a sort of, we've been really curious about why is it they don't show more interest or... So then this has been quite exciting because Aftonbladet is actually it's one of the largest newspapers in Scandinavia. It is the largest, I think, read online or something like that. So I decided I would go to Amsterdam and Neumünster to the warm-ups this winter. I take my photographs with a Nikon Z8, which is identical to the Z9, just in a smaller body. And I started at the warm-ups as usual, but in Amsterdam the warm-up is really close to the public. And I often get quite noticed, and I was feeling that there was quite a bit of tension going on. And I decided to go, actually, I came up with the idea that I'll see what my camera can pick up on the details in there in relation to the filming that is going on. And this has a lot to do with vision. Vision, we are often excluded from seeing the warm-ups. We can't access them. There might be other reasons why the warm-ups are difficult to photograph. You often, there can be various reasons. I normally don't photograph in the ring at big events because I have had this idea that, well, TV can do that documentation. I'll go and document when no one else is documenting. But then I decided, okay, I'm going to change this around here because it's actually proving to be quite difficult to document in Amsterdam. So I decided I want to. There's no point in me competing with TV companies, or I don't want to compete with the press photographers. So what is it I can photograph that would be different from that would be different? What is it I can get? And I decided to just photograph tongues. So I actually spent 2 days in Amsterdam and 3 days in Nijmegen photographing just tongues. I have done that before. I've photographed faces for years and years and years with intent to get the facial impressions. But this time I just decided on, because I have, it's a new camera and it's much better. So, and that is something that I think is, you know, I'm not going to say how long ago you could have taken this, but indoors, in these indoors arena, the lighting is really bad. So the cameras, you know, just a few years ago, it would be hopeless. And now they're just getting so much better and it's happening fast. So this is quite a modern image, you could say, from an indoor arena. Outdoors, it's easier because there's more light. I listened to a pod not long ago. There's been loads of stuff about this, loads of pods and loads of comments and loads of whatever. But I listened to a pod and they were actually talking about it and they were saying some interesting things, but I did kind of get the idea after 1 hour that they hadn't actually really looked at the pictures or read the text. And for me, if you see, you know, the amount of work, I mean, the text is written by the journalist, but if you see the amount of work that goes into this, I do actually think it's worth really looking at it. And of course, things are behind paywalls and there's so much information. So I actually changed my mind about what I was going to talk about, which was much more different, in that I actually do want to give it a presentation that I think it might be worthy. So I'm going to read this text. Maybe Eva takes over a little bit, and I'm going to try to click my pictures as they should be clicked. There was a difference between the English version and the Swedish version, and the Swedish version had more pictures and more text in it. So there might be some sort of hiccups there. The title was Particulars horse lost oxygen in its tongue during 2 World Cup competitions. I'm going to interrupt myself here. I did actually photograph more, and they were not published. There are 3 published. They were the 3 riders that were currently on top in the World Cup league at that time. Okay, the published riders were the 3 top riders in the World Cup league. I photographed, I think, 8 in total between Amsterdam and Nijmegen, and my impression and interpretation is that all of them had discolored tongues. So we could have published all. They decided that 3 was enough. Dressage star Patrick Kittle's horse lost oxygen in its tongue during 2 World Cup competitions. A series of pictures that Sportbladet has accessed reveal that other riders applied too much pressure in the mouths of their horses. The tongue is blue-purple. That's not what a healthy tongue looks like, says Christine Levering, veterinarian. I understand that the images can raise questions, says Patrick Kittel to Sportbladet. FEI is investigating the case. It's the Dressage World Cup. The brown muscular horse moves in time to the tunes of a James Bond movie theme. It looks like a horse is dancing. The movements appear light and beautiful. When the rider, Patrick Kittel, comes to a halt, he beams with happiness. He pats his horse and is met with vigorous applause. In the audience, a photographer has noticed that the horse tried to open its mouth several times. He followed the pair throughout the program and took a large number of pictures. When the photographer looks at them afterwards, he sees something disturbing. The horse's tongue is blue. They also made a film. Shall we see if we can play it? Huh? Do we want the sound? Can you put the sound on? It's not that. I can also tell you the sort of. So what we were doing here, I'll just tell you, because I predicted that there would be a lot of question about if they had been manipulated enough. So we actually worked out ideas how we could show that they had not been. So we actually used this to show that the cards are on the memory card and that they are looking at them, and I'm clicking through them. You can also see, if you see slightly on the video, that I can take sequences up to maybe 400 or 500 pictures in a row, and this is just covering a few seconds. In total, with one of these rides, there was 4,500 photographs over covering 6 minutes. This is because I'm hoping that we can then go back and actually use it and look at it and consider it as documentation. The photographers also followed several other riders at the competition. The rider who wins the freestyle, a competition to music, in Amsterdam, British Charlotte Fry, rides a horse that goes with its mouth open for much of its program. The horse's tongue has a bluish hue. The 7-times Olympic winner Isabel Wert's horse also gets a blue-coloured tongue during the program. That team comes in second in the competition. The photographer's name is Crispin Parelius Johannessen, and he has been devoted parts of his life to documenting and lecturing on the well-being of sport horses. He was also present at the World Cup competition in Neumünster on February the 18th, and he took pictures when Patrick Kittel rode the horse Forever Young. Sportbladet has accessed a large number of the photographer's images from these competitions and had 4 veterinarians to analyze them. They all come to the same conclusion: the horses in the pictures are suffering. Veterinarian Christine Levering, a member of the NCED, Nordic College of Equine Dentistry, and a leader of an international group for research and knowledge on bitting, says that the images of Patrick Kittel's horse touchdown in Amsterdam do not show a healthy tongue. It clearly suffers from lack of oxygen. The horse tries to defend itself by gaping and getting away, says Christine Levering. She explains that it's how hard the rider holds the reins in combination with the design of the bit that causes the horse's tongue to be compressed, blocking a passage of blood and causing oxygen deprivation, a condition that is both painful and can be dangerous. It can go into necrosis, cell and tissue death if it's for a long time. Christine Levering also reacts to the horse having extra feed under the noseband in several places. You shouldn't need that if you ride softly and have a noseband loosely tightened, she explains. If the horse is gaping, then there's a problem with the hand or bit, clearly. From the competition in Neumünster, there are pictures when Kittel and his horse Forever Young are right in front of the judge. The horse is gaping and its tongue is clearly visible. Christina Levering does not like what she sees in the pictures. Obviously, the rider is too harsh on the hand, the horse has a blue tongue, and clearly has what is called a pain face. It looks very uncomfortable in the whole face. You can also see the worrisome wrinkle by the eye. Christina Levering explains that it can be very painful for the horse when the rider holds the reins too tightly. It creates high pressures against the horse's bars, which are the toothless areas between the front teeth and molars. The bars in the horse's mouth are sensitive as your shin. Take a pen and press hard against your shin to see how it feels, she says. Levering expected that the judges wouldn't act on this. It's hard to notice such details when the horse is moving. Moreover, the judges can be influenced by the situation when they are judging the top elite. You know you have a skilled rider in front of you, you choose not to see. It's almost like being blinded. Patrick Kittel responds to the criticism and writes in a text message to Sportbladet, I understand that the pictures may raise questions, but I also know that they do not give a representative picture of the rides, which were televised and which everyone can go in and watch in their entirety on Clip My Horse. These are some stills from a 6-minute long dressage show judged by 5 judges in front of thousands of spectators, and where I finished in the top position with both horses. As in all competitions at this level, officials checked both noseband, bit, and the horse's mouth immediately after the ride. There were no remarks on any of my horses after the races starts, unquote. I have also made, it wasn't unquote. I have also made several pictures available to Sportbladet from both competitions, which they are welcome to use, unquote. Finnish veterinarian Kati Tomola, who has a PhD in bit-related injuries at the University of Helsinki, says this about the pictures of Patrick Kittel's ride with the horse touchdown in Amsterdam. The tongue is blue in all the pictures. In some of the pictures, you can see that the tongue is pressed upward by the bit. I can also see severe tension in the lower jaw, says Kati Tomola. Just like veterinarian Levering, she notes that the tongue has lost oxygen. She can also see that the tongue is larger than normal in one of the pictures. When you zoom in, you can see that it is round and swollen. That means blood can come in but can't flow out. This also leads to a lack of oxygen. She says it's rare to see such a blue tongue on a horse, which might be because it's hard to capture in photos as the horses move through the dressage program. I was quite shocked. So this is what what reality looks like, unquote. Question, is it painful for the horse? Answer, it's uncomfortable and possibly painful. A sign of pain might be that the horse is gaping. Horses breathe through their noses, so that there's usually no reason for a horse to open its mouth during a competition or training like this one does. Kati Tomola gets to analyse pictures of Kittel's horse Forever Young at HRH at the competition in Neumünster. Just like the other cases, the mouth is open, it should be closed, the tongue has a blue-purple tone and is swollen. What do you think about the horses having such a blue tongue near the judges without them intervening? Quote, it's hard to know. Maybe they didn't see it or they choose not to see it, says Kati Tomola, unquote. Kati Tomola believes there's a risk that dressage judges feel pressured not to intervene. She has personal experience with this. At a competition, she saw signs of blood in a horse's mouth. The foam around the mouth was tinged pink. She mentioned it to a veterinarian assistant present, but they supposedly replies, I didn't see it. Quote, then I started to question what I had seen. Maybe I was wrong, unquote. Objectivity and confidence among judges are therefore important, she explains. It takes confidence to dare to intervene and trust what one has seen. After 2017, this is a quote, after 2017, after I had done my scientific study, I've been more confident in my convictions. It's all about confidence. If you're unsure, you want confirmation from someone else to dare to act on it. Sportbladet has also been in contact with Professor Paul McGreevy, University of New England, Australia. He's veterinarian, ethologist, and professor of animal behavior and animal welfare, and has written over 300 scientific articles and 7 books. Paul McGreevy is also an honorary member of the International Society for Equitation Science. This is what he says about the pictures of Patrick Kittel, Isabel Watt, and Charlotte Fry's horses. The nosebands appear to be very tight. Many do this to avoid deductions for the horse going with an open mouth. Along with the curb chain, this creates high pressure against the tongue and makes it immobilized, says Paul McGreevy. He also notes that the horses' tongues have suffered from oxygen deprivation. The tongues are cyanotic and they're therefore blue. This is due to ischemia, which means lack of oxygen. Do you see anything that could be a welfare problem for the horses? Ischemia is painful. Moreover, when the tongue is immobilized, the horse can't swallow or clear its airways. This can be stressful for the horse. Some pictures are taken right in front of the judges. What do you think about that? The judges are there, quote, the judges are there to ensure that rules are followed, to reward ease in riding, and to ensure the welfare of the horses. Something even more important must have distracted them, unquote. He also notes that the horse's tongue has suffered from oxygen deprivation. This is in relation to Charlotte Fry's horse. The tongues are cyanotic and therefore blue. This is due to ischemia, which means lack of oxygen. Ischemia is painful. Moreover, when the tongue is immobilized, the horse can't swallow or clear its airways. This can be stressful for the horse. Patrick Kittel has been criticized before in 2009. Images and video clips circulated showing him riding Scandic in so-called rollkyr position, which is considered harmful to the horse. The horse also appeared to have a blue-colored tongue, so the incident was dubbed the blue tongue scandal on social media. Then the FAI, the International Equestrian Federation, initiated an investigation against Patrick Kittel. It did not lead to any formal reprimand, but Kittel received a warning letter and he was informed that the Federation would continue to monitor how he rode. In 2009. In 2012, he was accused of the same thing. Then Viveka Lund, the then sports director at the Swedish Equestrian Federation, played down the issue and called a photo a snapshot. For us, it's no use. Nothing prohibited has happened. Veterinarian Katarina Brunstedt, odontologist at Stockholm's horse clinic, argues that the pictures published by Sportbladet cannot be dismissed in this way. In this case, there are many moments, there are many pictures, and even in the moment, it is unpleasant for the horse. It should not look like this at any moment for the horse. It's incredibly uncomfortable, says Katarina Brunstedt. Katarina Brunstedt says this about the pictures of Patrick Kittel, Charlotte Fry, and Isabel Wert's horses at the Freestyle in Amsterdam. They have a blue tongue. This means that they have had so much pressure on the tongue that they have reduced blood circulation in them, says Katarina Brunstedt. They were top placed in this class. What do you think about that? Quote, we have a judging problem. If they saw it as I do, they could not have given such high scores. It's about horse welfare. A horse should feel good, even in competition situations. Katarina Brunstedt believes that the scoring system in dressage competitions should be changed to reward the original intent of dressage, the horse and rider to communicate with each other in harmony, and for the rider to use as little aid as possible for the horse to understand. One could introduce a coefficient for equipment. For example, riding with a regular snapper bit could score higher points, and choosing to ride with a neck ring could even give even higher points. Veterinarian Christina Levering also believes that there is a significant horse welfare problem within dressage. She argues that the rule requiring riding with a double bridle in the highest level must be reconsidered. If it's a dressage horse, shouldn't you technically be able to ride without a bit, or at least on a snaffle bit? it would be very interesting to see a dressage competition on regular snaffle bits and without nosebands. If the riders can't manage that, then they need to change something about their riding. Christina Levering argues that the dressage sport needs to start following the research on horses' mouths. Today's sport horses are refined and often have small mouths. They do not have space for a thick double bridle. Quote, why do we have to compete in the expense of horses in this way? Why can't we adapt the equipment so that it doesn't harm horses? Unquote. According to Christine Levering, it's possible to ride the most difficult programs even without a bit in the horse's mouth. She has seen riders perform Grand Prix movements with only a neck strap. Quote, the horse moved beautifully in balance with its head high and nice. I'm not saying that's how we should have it, but maybe we should put a pressure meter on the reins. If you hold too tightly, it results in a deduction. Unquote. She also suggests an additional judge function at competitions, one that evaluates the horse's welfare. This person should deduct points when the horse shows various conflict behaviors. Ideally, it should be an independent person, not starstruck by the rider, but just there for the horse welfare, period. Unquote. At the competition in Amsterdam in February, a photographer from ANP also took a picture of Kittel's horse where a part of the tongue is visible. In this picture too, the tongue has a blue hue. Sportbladet has sought to contact riders Patrick Kittel, Charlotte Fry and Isabelle Vert. We have sent pictures of their horses for them to see. Isabelle Vert's press team sent an answer on email telling, as we take your inquiry seriously, we need further information. To be able to make a statement, we need you to send us further images in their original format, citing the author as their source. Unquote. They also wrote, we further want to inform you that following the tournament during which the picture was taken, the FEI steward's oral and dental inspection of the horse in question raised no concerns. Unquote. Following this response, Vet's press team has received additional photos and comments from veterinarians. Charlotte Fry did not respond yet. Sportbladet has also sought to contact the judges Maria Colleander, who appears in the picture with Touchdown, and Martin van der Heijden, who appears in the picture with Forever Young. Maria Colleander tells us she will be back with a comment later on. The judge Martin van der Heijden hasn't responded yet. We also sought to contact the FEI president Ingmar de Vos. In an email we asked about the regulations when the horses show a blue tongue during competition. We also sent pictures showing the judges Maria Colleander and Martin van der Heijden sitting right in front of Kittel's horses when they have blue-coloured tongues. This article was published on Thursday, and the next day a spokesperson for the FEI responded. The FEI has been made aware of the photographs taken during the FEI dressage world competition in Neumünster and Amsterdam, and the analysis put forward by veterinarians in Aftenbladet article published on the 21st of March. The FEI judging manual outlines the principles for assessing the horse and rider during the dressage test, including clear guidance to monitor the contact between the horse and rider, which should at all times be soft and steady connection between the horse's mouth and the rider's hand, and requires judges to diligently observe this during competition. The FEI absolutely condemns all methods and practices that are contrary to horse welfare and is actively looking into the matter. Horse trainer Anders Eriksson, who co-authored the book The Horse's Capabilities for Work with veterinarian Sara Niemann, is not surprised that the phenomenon of blue tongues is recurring. He too has seen the pictures taken at the World Cup, but of the World Cup participants. What we see is unacceptable. This is not dressage, it's a deviation. It started with a good intention. He explains that a healthy horse tongue should be light pink. If it turns blue or grey, it means that it has been squeezed to the point of becoming oxygen deprived. I'm not against the sport, but it has gone terribly wrong. It becomes a complicated mess of different interests and money. He believes that the worst part is actually happening inside the horse's mouth and is not visible from the outside. He refers to the damage to the sensitive bars of the horse's mouth. This area cannot withstand any pressure. It cannot endure what these riders are doing. What do you think about the fact that these about the fact that the horses in the pictures placed at the top of the competition, quote, "It only proves that these judges are corrupt. It started already 25 years ago and they began to reward what was wrong. And there's been an inflation of this," he said, and continues. "In my opinion, the rider here should have only received a 2 or 3 for the movements instead of a higher score." So I'll just draw your attention to that. There was actually a picture from another photographer published in the original article with a blue, what appears to be a blue tongue. This is I'm going to talk about the next article, but before we do that, I would just like to quickly. It's a bit complicated. I wanted to do it last time, and I really wanted to do it now, but because of the way that it's set up, I can't actually sit and work on my computer. So this will do. But between the two competitions, I took it's roughly about 120,000 pictures. And it took me, I don't know, but maybe 300 hours to go through them. And what I do is I sit, and for me, I learn quite a lot from this process. Apart from that, it's quite a bit heavy to work with looking at these things. But I thought I might just share a little bit what I really learned about it, because one thing was that I saw that in the photographs, the tongue colours actually varies quite a lot throughout the 6 minutes, the 5 to 6 minutes they're in the arena. I think like this, I started looking out for pictures. Also had conversations with others, and what would be good information for the pictures. And one is that you can visibly see the bit pressing against the tongue, which you, for example, cannot see so clearly there. But I was quite amazed at how much you do actually see. I haven't included this in the slide, but I can even see lesions on the tongue on some of the pictures, which I've never seen before. I am actually sitting, 30 meters away, and I'm sitting where together with the audience under quite bad light conditions. So there you can see the bit clearly. The pictures have also been criticised for being dark. And part of it, if you are producing pictures for magazines or publications, you would normally edit them and change them. It was very important here that they were not in any way changed by me. So I delivered them totally unedited. This was one of the concepts that I actually discussed quite a bit with Carty, not the fact that he's looking there, but how important it was to try to get the photographs that had actually showing gum and tongue. And a lot of these photographs, I'd already gone through a lot of the photographs, but that is something I really try to look at now. And that was, for me, a very important visual concept, which I can see. Can you see how clearly there's a difference in there? And once I had sort of got that concept, I could see it. And I even went back in old photographs where I hadn't seen it. So I went back in photographs which were taken with this camera from the summer, and it was there right in front of me. So from a lot of the other things I talk about, and blindness and, many things we can hide through sugar paste, tight nosebands, making it visibly impossible to actually access and see. But then there's this whole area, of perception that we are actually culturally quite blinded. And what we need is very, very clear concepts for our perception, our brain to recognize them when we're looking at them. So for me, this was maybe the most useful one, was the sort of difference in tone of the skin. Again, a picture with a very clearly showing the bit crushed against the tongue. Another thing that was very, very problematic, I thought, with which makes all of this very, very difficult, as Christina Wilkins says, I think it was she, one of the ways of us not to access seeing the tongue or the mouth is to have very tight nosebands. So we've had very, very tight nosebands, and then they maybe have loosened them a bit. But a mouth that doesn't open and show its tongue does not mean that there is not a blue tongue in there. It just means we haven't seen the tongue. So one of the things I think is very important is that we actually have to see what we are looking for or wanting to see. So the fact that you can see, I saw no blue tongues, well, did you actually see the tongue? And here, if you imagine this, I think it's hard to imagine that. I'm actually sitting 30 meters away. And this is how many millimeters is that opening of the mouth? Oh? We better be quick then, as usual. As I said, we better be quick. Stop. I could have talked a little bit about how the light falls on the mouth and how the tongue is dark inside. But if you look at can you see the pink elephant? There was actually a pink elephant in the arena. There was a lot of criticism of the photographs, making it. So they made an article, a follow-up article, which is very good, which I recommend you read. But they were with what I call found images. So a found image, you find it on the internet, and that is quite. So I call them found images. So they made this article, which had loads of images which showed blue tongues, or what appeared to be blue tongues, or you could perceive them. This was actually a picture at a show where I wasn't, which was in Stockholm, Friends Arena, just before Christmas. And if you can look there, you can look at his tongue. You see a little bit the similar, a very, very small, but very clearly purplish blue. That was by a Swedish photographer. There has also been other curious things happening, and this was posted by the FEI on the FEI Instagram. And if you look at the mouth, it would appear that that tongue on that horse is also quite purple and discolored. Huh? And this was published by the FEI on the FEI Instagram. And when comments came in the commentaries of it being blue, they took it down. In the article, it is actually described what they write to the FEI and the response the FEI has. I'm going to have more time because of this. No, 3 minutes. Okay. So then we moved on a little bit after that article, which I must say was hardly commented on by anyone. I saw nothing in the equestrian press, of the article with the found images from other photographers, even posted photographs posted on the FEI Instagram. That no one picked up on it. It went silent. Then a very interesting little event occurred. And that was that someone saw, but this is from the finals in Riyadh. So publicity is, yeah. Anyway, so this is from Riyadh, the finals. So Kittel has actually been published before with blue tongues, and then the FEI manages another picture of the blue tongue. I'm going to take the time here. Now I'm going to show you a video where my photographs are taken from. So this is the video from, it's a Clip My Horse video, the FEI official video, or the, and so that was the clip, obviously recorded by a broadcaster from a different position, but not too different. And did you see these photos in that clip?
No.
Did you see these photos in that clip? So, my main point was not, there was a different camera from a different angle, obviously, but would you have been able to see it if we were at the same angle? And my point is then that no, you would not. This is the arena which is going to be at Versailles on the Olympics, and I would just like to leave it with you to think about how they are constructing our viewing of it. You can see the audience. How likely is it without a camera they are going to see the tongue in the middle of the arena? Who sees the tongue is my question here. You know, do the judges see the tongue? The audience see the tongue? You saw what, okay, that was a refilming of Clip My Horse, so that it's not the quality, you know, but even on recordings, you can maybe glimpse it and you can stop it and look at it. But, you know, if you don't have a chance to stop it and go back, you're just basically glimpsing it and it's gone. So I would like to leave you with that one consideration of how you can reflect over how our vision, sight, perception, what we see, is constructed. I'll, yeah.
Thank you very much, Crispin. I'll organize a meeting and I will give you 3 hours to talk. Okay? Thank you very much.